At Dave Clips, a Twitter account that everyone should be following if you're still on Twitter, who does a lot of great work that we've enjoyed over the years, has a new bit of a compilation up here about Dave Rubin, who's been through a lot apparently, and so let's see what kind of ordeal Dave, fresh out of Russell Brand saying he wanted to go to Israel with Dave. I'm not sure if that's going to come up here, but anyway.
Couple days behind this one, but obviously I wanted to hit it because I think it's been really the biggest sort of domestic story since Trump took over, which is all of the Doge stuff and Elon is stepping away. He's going to start focusing on robots and getting life to go interstellar, interplanetary, and all that stuff. So he is finally
Interstellar is between stars. Not even Elon Musk has been stupid enough to pretend that he's going to be able to do that.
I gotta say, that weird echo on Dave Rubin's mic makes it seem like he's already on a spaceship somewhere. What's with that weird, audio?
Getting life to go on robots and getting life to go interstellar, interplanetary, and all that stuff. So he is finally stepping away from his temporary position. He set up a structure, I think, that we are going to be very appreciative for a long time coming. There is some infighting, and I would say I would frame all of this with some infighting in a party when it is happening publicly is good. That is transparent. When you have a bill that's trying to be passed and you have people who are in the same party and some.
It's good when the richest man who paid for all of the campaigns of your party calls the top guy a pedophile, a conspiracist. Yeah. It's actually good when that happens. It's a sign of a party being strong. And I'll just note that only 2/3 of Republicans support the big, beautiful bill, which, I mean, look, I don't want
to. That's low for a Trump, the Trump segment.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Republican voters are stupid cows that can be herded very easily, a la Jan 6 by all the Antifa and feds that said, hey, go do a riot. Apparently, and this is the facetious way that they try to frame that. Republicans are stupid cows that you can get to support anything. And that only 2/3 of them support the big, beautiful bill is a huge, failure of that effort.
I think a lot of them are also, though, like easily scared. And so a lot of them have heard and now experienced people in their lives being impacted by things that Trump has done. And so they're just a little bit more amenable to the idea that, like, OK, but this might actually hit me, which unfortunately people in America have to be able to have happen to them or someone close to them for them to imagine that to be a viable future for themselves.
100%.
I think that's definitely part of it, but I also think part of it is that I think Trump has met his match, at least with some of his followers, in Elon Musk. Elon voiced his opposition to the bill, and some of the MAGA people decided that Elon was right over Trump. I was pretty shocked actually when Elon and Trump started feuding, because every time Trump feuds with someone, MAGA takes Trump's side. And while I do think most MAGA obviously was still behind Trump, I saw more cracks in that sort of united behind Trump with the Musk feud than I've ever seen before. There were people who were breaking with Trump and saying, you know what, Elon's right.
Yeah. And I think that split is going to be more and more pronounced as Trump, he just stumbled up a staircase a la Biden recently. As he gets older and older, people are going to realize, look, he's only going to be around for so much longer. And these guys with a whole bunch of money are going to be around for way longer than that.
People are having
Musk said it himself. Musk said that himself when he was feuding with him. He was like, people need to realize Trump will only be around for so long. I'll be here for the next 40 years. Now, I think he was being generous to himself that 40 years would be. But he'll be around a lot longer than Trump for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think people are finally, and it only took a few months, starting to realize there has to be political life for them after Trump. Like when we were going into the second Trump term, everyone was like, oh, Trump's going to be forever king. He's going to be, the almighty. He's going to run for a third term. But now that he's turned out to, be Trump in a lot of ways that could have been anticipated, they're realizing that, like, oh, he's going to drag our name through the mud, that this big, beautiful bill is not right for my district because my district has a lot of people on Medicaid and a lot of people on SNAP. Or, this big, beautiful bill doesn't do enough damage to people who I hate, like poor people and minorities. Like there are a lot of people in the Republican Party who are split on that as well, right? Or using one as the cover for the other, right? So I think when it comes to Trump, we're seeing this all across the world too. Like a lot of people were running with Trump when Trump was just an idea in people's head, when a second term of Trump was an idea that people had latched onto, like a return to like a lower cost of living, a return to like a time before the pandemic or whatever, a time before like things got so bad as a result of the pandemic. And now that they're experiencing like what Trump's actually like, we're seeing across the world just like far right candidates doing worse, like, you know, conservatives doing worse. I know liberals are doing better, but that's not always a great thing. But certainly like the reality of what Trump is about is like hitting a lot of people hard.
Here's a little bit more of this, Dave, trying to mitigate or mediate the fights between the daddies.
Of this with some infighting in a party when it is happening publicly is good. That is transparent. When you have a bill that's trying to be passed and you have people who are in the same party and some are going, it's too much spending and there's going to be too much deficit, and some people are going, no, we have to do it for this reason or that reason. But when it's done publicly, then we have a sense of actually what's going on here. Let's start with Elon Musk, and he tweeted this out. I'm sorry, but I just can't stand it anymore. This massive, outrageous, pork-filled congressional spending bill is a disgusting abomination. Okay, so we've got some drama here. Absolutely, right? Again, this is all happening publicly, which is good, and it's completely the reverse of everything the Democrats did. We're seeing the arguing happening in real time. We're seeing it happen on X. So there is a public fight. It's not even a public fight. There is a public argument. This is what politics is. Politics is trying to compel people to see things your way, to get policies that make sense for you. And there's an argument in the Republican Party right now. I think that's good. So now,
before we get
what
to
is
this
with this music in the background?
Yeah.
This might have been added by Dave, our friend over at Dave Clips.
I was curious about that.
Okay.
I noticed that he didn't bring up the tweet that everyone was talking about. He brought up the tweet about the pork-filled bill, because when he said I was going to bring up a tweet, I assumed it was going to be the tweet about Epstein, right? So, like,
right.
I think he's getting there.
Oh, I hope so.
I mean,
he does.
Can we just address, this whole fight that happened last week where Musk broke on the big, beautiful bill? Like, good that coalition can see some cracks. Musk's critique of it is absolutely stupid and asinine. Yeah. That there's pork in it. He's a contractor that gets massive government contracts. He's a giant pork eater. The problem with the bill is the tax cuts for the wealthy people and throwing people off social insurance and giving the Gestapo at ICE billions of dollars to run around in our cities and harass Home Depot workers. That's what's wrong. It's not pork.
I got to be honest. I'm kind of split on whether or not Elon's antagonism towards this bill is based on his own like ego being hurt, like about the fact that like Doge cuts weren't like codified in this bill, or if he's actually one of those like really dumb people who thinks that like the deficit and that stuff matters. And I really am like split, but I do think it's definitely mostly ego driven.
I've made this when this fight first started happening. I would think it happened right before Leftist Mafia, and I was on there, and I had a disagreement with everyone. I actually think that's what's going on here. I think people view Elon as like just another billionaire looking out for himself. He obviously is that, but there's something else with Elon that the other billionaires don't have, and that is he has been radicalized as a real right winger. Like he's
really dumb.
Like he's truly fallen for this stuff. Like, yeah, he's looking out for himself, but what did the fight with Trump do for him and his companies? If anything, it was going to hurt them. I mean, we see him trying to backtrack now because he's coming down off whatever he was on, and he's realizing he's in trouble because there was no win for him there, because there was nothing for him to gain from that. I really do think, while all of it is part of it, I think for Musk specifically, he's become a true believer in these sort of classic right-wing tropes, including the deficit. And he really believes that like this is a huge problem for the country and he needs to step in and do something, because obviously, it'll hurt the country, but it'll also hurt him. All that is part of it. But he's a true believer in the stupidest Republican, and right-wing ideals now. Like that's the actual guy we're dealing with.
I think it's a sort of a mix of column A and column B. There's this piece in the NPR. Why can't I? National Public Radio. That should have been hard to search for. Former Doge engineer says federal waste and fraud were relatively non-existent. And we have a little interview here. And one of the highlights on the lack of fraud and spending abuse he saw, I did not find the federal government to be rife with waste, fraud, and abuse. I was expecting some more easy wins. I mean, Okay, let me just finish. I was hoping for opportunity to cut waste, fraud, and abuse, and I do believe there is a lot of waste. I mean, I think that's an article of faith at this point. There's minimal amounts of fraud, and abuse to me feels relatively non-existent. And the reason is I think we have a bias as people coming from tech industry where we worked at companies such as Google, Facebook. These companies that have plenty of money are funded by investors and have lots of people kind of sitting around doing nothing. Yeah. Folks, the inefficiency in American economy right now is there. It's all the investors who should have had that money taxed and put towards public uses by Uncle Sam, like paying for your insurance and building housing for you, is actually being spent by people like Mark Zuckerberg to hire professionals to do email and ideate all fucking day.
No, exactly. And this is another example of what I was saying about the specter of the criminal migrant that has gotten everyone hopped up on believing that they can arrest 100 brown people a day and they're all going to be like Osama bin Laden, apostles, or essentially. It just doesn't exist. This waste, fraud, and abuse is a myth that has been made up by neoliberals in both parties to justify austerity measures, to justify public-private partnerships. And we know where the waste in our society is. It's in those public-private partnerships. Like, all you have to do is compare like the administrative costs of something like Medicaid or Medicare or the VA to like private insurance. And you see it right there, or the private healthcare systems, like, and you see it there. But the difference between the public and private sector is that the private sector can advocate for itself. Like, the private sector can like buy commercials and buy ads. I mean, the public sector could do that, but at the head of the public sector, we don't have either party that are unapologetic, full-throated advocates of the value of the government or the value of the public sector. Both parties just have a disagreement about how small it should be.
100%. Well, folks, I think that will just about do it today.
Thanks to our sponsor today, Big Baby, the baby industry.
The natalist propaganda we're doing.
It got the most chill and fun-looking baby. It makes fathering look like
she's being very good right now. Yes. It's pretty crazy, but yeah, maybe this will get you guys some ads from the baby industry for sure. Yeah, maybe Huggies and all those other companies. Tell Sam to let them know there was a baby on stream.
Look, we're the pro-family. We're pro-public safety here. We have the monopoly on that over the right and the center. We're also pro-family. We have the monopoly on that over the right and the center. We're basically the only place that any solutions exist in politics. So thanks for joining us on a Thursday.
Yeah, I honestly, only the Majority Report has the moral courage and clarity of purpose to have a baby on stream. You won't see this on the Daily Wire. You won't see this. You won't see this on the PBD Valuetainment podcast. I don't know if Piers Morgan has ever had a baby on his show that wasn't like an adult baby.
Can you imagine like, Patrick Bet David holding a baby? Any AI that tried to like simulate that image would just immediately overheat.
Right. There's that one guy on that show that I don't know if he would be able to hold on to the baby. We might drop the baby in his anger during
the show. Like a little baby. He looks like a little baby that needs to be swaddled.
Right, yeah.
Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.